We unpack. We unpack. We unpack. Coming to you live. Boxing Ego unpack. Yeah. We unpack. We unpack. We unpack. Coming to you live. The drama continues. Please believe it. Believe it, please. Golden Boy has responded. I already talked about that, but now Bill Haney is responding. The Haneys want their money for Haney Garcia. Now, let's get into it. Lance Pugmire has a brand new article. I will link in the description. Golden Boy chastises Ryan Garcia and Devin Haney for questioning pay. Now, I've already made a separate video. If you have not watched it and subscribed to the channel and you don't know what's going on, that is your fault. So I'm not gonna go back and forth because I've already made content about this. Check out the previous videos. Basically, Ryan Garcia and Devin Haney both agreed that they haven't been paid by Golden Boy. You know, Ryan was the first to draw blood. He took to social media and he said that he hadn't received his money, or at least he wasn't paid in full from the Haney Garcia the Haney Garcia fight, to which Devin Haney said same. And then now Golden Boy has put out an official press release, responded to that. Again, we'll go over that real quick because I've already done it. Right here, you see, I am on Golden Boy's official Twitter. That's the Devin fight 3 hours ago, roughly. And it reads, as we have always done with all our fights, Golden Boy paid Ryan Garcia and Devin Haney exactly what they are owed under their contracts. As with all pay-per-view events, the revenue, you see right here, the revenue comes in over time and additional payments will be made when more money is received. You guys see that? If they aren't aware of this fact, we would hope that their managers are. So that would be for Devin Haney, Bill Haney, and probably the legal team, Guadalupe Valencia for Ryan Garcia, and whoever else is, you know, overseeing his career. Golden Boy continues by saying, or perhaps Ryan Garcia and Devin Haney should pay more attention to their contracts than their social media feeds, Golden Boy Promotions. So this is a bit snarky for a press release, right? Normally press releases are buttoned up and they're presented in such a way where it's straightforward, very professional, certain verbiage, right? It's almost like somebody, you know, you get your PR people to typically put this out. But this last part looks like De La Hoya or something because it seems real snarky. Let's read it again. We would hope that their managers are. It says if they aren't aware of this fact, or perhaps Ryan Garcia and Devin Haney should pay more attention to their contracts rather than their social media feeds. Boom, roasted. So that's crazy. This is, you know, the promoter that put on the fight. They're saying like, you need to get off social media and be in tune with your business and really what's going on. Now, for me, I don't know what's going on. I haven't read either's contract. Their money doesn't pertain to me or change my life in any way. But I would like to see the fighters who risk their lives get paid whatever they're owed. And maybe it's a situation where Golden Boy's right and they've paid out everything that they owe him, and maybe based on the fight the expectations were higher for Ryan Garcia or Devin Haney and they think they should be getting more money. I don't know. Could be a situation where Golden Boy's trying to snake him or skim off the top and not be transparent, which we'll get into. But either way, this spells trouble because everybody was in cahoots. Everybody had this partnership leading up to the fight and everything seemed very cordial and amicable and friendly. But now the fight has happened and you get this mess and this fiasco where it's he said, she said. So Golden Boy's stance again is that, yo, you need to pay attention more to your contract than social media posts and posting on social media. Says we pay them everything they are owed based on their contracts. Now, I think another point to mention is that Canelo did warn of this literally recently in May, and we're just now in June. It's pretty early June. And Canelo at the press conference for his fight with Jaime Munguia, and keep in mind, Canelo has experience with Oscar De La Hoya and working with Oscar and Golden Boy. He specifically said that Oscar is basically a snake. He's done, and I'm combining what he said at the press conference, but there's also other interviews. He said that he wouldn't have a fighter signed to Golden Boy in 2024 and beyond. He said Oscar doesn't even run his company, and he acts like he does. He says at that press conference with Munguia that Oscar is basically crooked and he steals money from the fighters. And if it wasn't for his legal team or his own accountant, then they were going to try to get Canelo. But luckily Canelo has made enough money, so he had the proper representation. And he says basically that's how I was able to get out of my contract. And he says Oscar's a crook. He tried to steal from me. He stole from Golovkin, and he steals from all his fighters. So with that being said, in May, and then probably a little over a month later, this is going on. The optics don't look good, you know. And that's just saying optically, it doesn't look good. Ryan and Devin like, where's my money? Where's my money? You know, again, I don't know what they agreed to. I don't know what the contract is, but from the optics, that doesn't look good. But they're claiming that everything's been paid out, and pay-per-view wise, if there's any more money, that'll come over time, like basically back-end money. It says if they aren't aware of this fact, which I read, they should pay more attention to their contracts other than social media feeds. Questioning pay might be a sore subject to Oscar De La Hoya Golden Boy Promotions after 4 divisional Canelo. It said blistering news, the conference diatribe accusing the promoter of slow paying Alvarez following his attorney's involvement, blah, 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 and his former, which I already went over. I already said that on Twitter and everything. De La Hoya said he had. Meanwhile, and then De La Hoya also put out a cease and desist when Canelo said that, meaning that Oscar said and took it as defamation, and he was trying to be, Canelo was trying to publicly humiliate him, and if he didn't stop saying what he was saying, then it could turn into a legal matter. That's basically what a cease and desist is. Like, if you don't cease and desist this action, then it's going to lead to legal consequences. Meanwhile, Garcia, 25, has much on his mind. Ryan got arrested. I've already talked about this. He got the B sample. He got a lot of stuff going on. But Ryan's people didn't actually, it says Garcia's manager, this is the point that I want you guys to pay attention to. So the athletic commission has to decide Ryan Garcia's fate. We'll see what happens there. Garcia's manager, Guadalupe Valencia, did not immediately return or respond to comments in this write-up from Boxing Scene after receiving a copy of Golden Boy's letter. So Ryan's team hasn't said anything. But peep this. Says, but Bill Haney, Devin Haney's father, manager, trainer, told Boxing Scene on Saturday evening that, quote, De La Hoya is doing the same dang thing he's been doing. He gets the money and he's playing keep away with the ball. Bill Haney took exception with Golden Boy's social media crack, reminding them that the promotion was quick to instruct the fighters to, quote, put it up on your Instagram accounts when we make the fight. I don't know what that has to do with it, but whatever. Read this, or I guess I have to read it for you guys. Nobody wants to work with Golden Boy. We'd rather work directly with the networks. We want answers, Bill Haney said. Ryan and Devin have been asking where the pay-per-view money is. They haven't shown us the 30 or 45-day reports. We haven't received any pay-per-view money per the agreement. Golden Boy is not living up to its part of the agreement, and it's not being transparent. We don't know what's coming in and when it's going to be paid out. Wow. Now, this is my only complaint. Bill Haney took his son to these people, and now he's saying nobody wants to work with Golden Boy. But At the press conference, he said something else. When they were doing the LA and the New York stop, he was like, oh, it's an honor to work with Golden Boy and Oscar De La Hoya, and Golden Boy Promotion knows the business of boxing and blah, blah, blah. And then now when they don't have your money right, he's saying nobody wants to work with Golden Boy. So Bill Haney particularly does a lot of double talking that I've seen, where when things don't go his way, then that's when the attitude changes. Now he's saying nobody wants to work with Golden Boy and we'd rather work directly with the networks. But you don't have a network deal. You're not Eddie Hearn. You're not Oscar De La Hoya. I get it that this is part of the problem when you're trying to move as a free agent. This is just the reality of it. This is why it's important to typically in boxing sign to a promoter. If you don't sign to a promoter, this is what you have to typically deal with. Like, you're not an actual promoter. I don't think Bill has his promoter's license, even though it's, or maybe he does, because they have Devin Haney Promotions or whatnot. But the bottom line is you don't have a network. You don't have an actual platform, meaning you can't not work with Eddie Hearn. You can't not work with Al Heyman, not work with Top Rank, not work with Oscar De La Hoya, who have these network deals, and go do what you're saying. Go directly to the network and stage the fight yourself, right? You have to work with the network. And this is part of the problem of trying to move as a free agent when the game is set up against you. Now, I get it. I'm from the Bay Area, so I understand, you know, out here in Northern California, everybody, you know, hustles, and people, the Bay Area is the one of the hotbeds and stomping grounds of the independent hustler. So I understand the idea, but you want to cut out the middleman. This is some of the problems that kind of come with it. You try to cut out the middleman, but you don't have the actual network. You can't just say, and now you're saying, oh, we wanted to do this directly through the networks. But I hate when people say stuff like this, because what I highlighted here is neither here nor there. The bottom line is you sign probably a one fight deal with Golden Boy, and then you go back to free agency, which is what you wanted. So you might not be tethered to Golden Boy, but to work on this Ryan Garcia fight, he was the A side, which is another issue that I will be bringing up. So stay tuned to the end of this video. So saying we'd rather work directly with the networks is neither here nor there. The bottom line is you signed up to fight Ryan Garcia. You took the fight. You didn't have a network deal, so you had to go through Golden Boy to make the Ryan fight. And see, now let's talk about the A side. This is also the double talking with Team Haney, is you have Devin Haney and Bill Haney that they're saying stuff like, oh, we're true bosses and, you know, boss life, Bay Area bosses, blah, blah, blah. But you had to go through Golden Boy, which you couldn't go directly to the plug. So this is not Frank Lucas in American Gangster when he just went overseas to Vietnam or whatever and got the blow himself. You know what I mean? But that's kind of how Team Haney makes it sound like they're operating, but they're really not. In addition, they also have said stuff to the effect of, we are the A side in the face of boxing. But how can you be the face of boxing and you're not even getting paid and you don't have access to any of the paperwork, so you don't know how the numbers did? You see what I'm saying? So that's not making sense. How can you be the A side, but then Ryan made more money? Then you're not the A side. You get me? You can say it, but it don't make it true. A lot of people can say a lot of things, but it don't make it true. You can't be the A side if Ryan's making more money, and you can't be the A side if you don't have none of the schematics, the logistics. Golden Boy, you're claiming is hiding the paperwork. And the other thing, the other issue that I had with what Bill Haney said when quoted by Boxing Scene is, he says nobody wants to work with Golden Boy, but you did work with Golden Boy. We'd rather work with the networks, neither here nor there, as I went over, because that's not what happened. And it says we want answers. Okay, that's understandable. Ryan and Devin have been asking where the pay-per-view money is. They haven't showed us, so you should be entitled to this type of stuff. I have no beef with any of that. We haven't received any pay-per-view money per the agreement. But again, it says we don't know what's coming in and when it's going to be paid out. So basically, they're being left in the dark, and they want transparency. All of which I understand. But here's the problem I have with what is being said. First of all, as a free agent, you didn't have to work with Golden Boy, which I've already talked about throughout this video. You chose that for your son and the next move for your son. But his first thing that he said to Boxing Scene was Oscar De La Hoya is doing the same dang thing that he's been doing. He gets the money and then he's playing keep away with the ball. So that is highly confusing. If you said he's doing the same thing that he's been doing, right? I listen to what people say. Operative word, been doing. Oscar is doing the same dang thing that he's been doing. He gets the money and he plays keep away with the ball. If this is a reality and he's been doing that, that infers that this is not De La Hoya's first rodeo playing with people's money, blah, blah, blah. So my question then would be, why would you even work with him? Why would you do this fight if he's doing the same thing that he's, quote, been doing? Bill Haney's words, not mine. That don't make sense. Why would you take your son over to this man to do business if the person is a janky promoter or does bad business? So that is what I'm talking about when I say double talking. There has to have been a level of faith or whatever you want to call it to even commit to doing this fight with them initially for you to do it, because that doesn't make sense. You just took him over. You just took your undefeated son to Golden Boy, did this fight with Ryan. He missed weight, tested positive. Why would you do? And see, this again is highly concerning because this is Devin's father and it's his manager. So your manager has you in these situations where you had a super tough fight with Ryan Garcia. There was no rematch clause. There was no rehydration same day weigh-in. And now he's claiming that Oscar's doing what he's been doing. So if you know he's been doing it, I don't understand why you would even have made this arrangement to even make this fight. So you had to have, to me, some level of faith in Golden Boy, at least initially. Whether they let you down or broke their end of the bargain or whatever, you know, that is what it is. But I don't understand, if you know that he's been doing this, why you would proceed to do business with them. That's my honest opinion. Now, as far as the claim, I hope they get to the bottom of this. I mean, every fighter is risking their life really and truly by fighting. So no matter who we like as fight fans, every fighter deserves to be paid what they're entitled to. You know, for so many years, boxing has undermined fighters, abused fighters, and chewed them up and spit them out to the point where people don't have all their faculties and they gotta get regular civilian jobs after. So I definitely feel for everybody involved in terms of if their money, if what they're saying is true and they're owed monies and they're not being paid and compensated properly. I mean, that's like YouTube. I'm a YouTuber. So if me and YouTube have a certain split and they just keeping my money and leaving me in the dark and I'm just stuck, then I'll be hot and it's going to be some issues. So I understand that angle of it, but there is some double talking going on where Bill Haney's almost sounding like he knew that De La Hoya was nefarious or notorious for this, which raises a bigger question. You being a father and manager and trainer, why would you even take your son to do business with these people if you knew they was grimy and, you know, stick up kids? That literally doesn't make, and he just got like manager of the year or something. So that all that stuff doesn't make sense to me. Hopefully everyone gets it figured out. Canelo tried to warn people that Oscar was potentially, you know, taking money from people and not comping the fighters. And little over a month later, here we are, and it's looking ugly, and it's a bunch of he said, she said. Golden Boy again is claiming that, hey, we paid you what you were owed. Whether you like it or not, you got your money, right? And then they're being snarky at the end of this press release. Haney's, Ryan, they think they're owed more money. I mean, once again, this is the fight that just keeps on giving. Ryan's getting arrested. Ryan's popping dirty. Ryan's in the news and tabloids and getting talked to by the hotels. Devin Haney, you know, hasn't really popped out, but he had the little altercation with Tank. I mean, it's just, this is everywhere. It's just like, it's a mess. And like, the thing is, the Haneys talked about Tank and calling out Tank and wanting to fight Tank, etc., etc. But you see in this picture, they're doing business with Eddie Hearn from the UK. They've done business with Bob Arum and Top Rank. So you have a British Caucasian promoter from the UK. You have a Jewish Harvard graduate from New York, the head of Top Rank. You work with him for 3 fights. You work with a Mexican-American Olympian, former fighter, Oscar De La Hoya and Golden Boy on the Ryan fight. All of Top Rank, I didn't hear about this. Eddie Hearn, I didn't hear about this. But now we're hearing about monies not being paid out properly with Golden Boy. But the point I'm making is Al Heyman is an advisor, a black advisor from PBC and from Cleveland. And if you wanted to truly fight Tank Davis, why wouldn't you go see Al at any point? You've literally worked with all the major promoters. You've even talked about wanting to work with Turki Al-Sheikh and Riyadh Season, the Haneys. So why not try to have established a big fight or at least a relationship with PBC? Because we've never really heard about PBC having these issues. Like, I never seen Crawford say, hey, yo, these son of a guns didn't pay me for the Errol Spence fight. I whooped Errol and they didn't pay me because they were mad. We didn't see that, right? Now, we did see Crawford later put in a complaint, a legal complaint to Top Rank and say what he said about there was an agenda or a bias that they had towards black fighters. We've seen that. We've heard Canelo badmouth his former promoter, Golden Boy, and say that, hey, they ain't paying, they ain't on the up and up. I would never tell my fighter to go to Golden Boy, etc., etc. We have seen that. But let me tell you what we have not seen. We have never seen somebody who was with Al Heyman and say Al Heyman owes me money and he did me so wrong because I was owed $5 million and he didn't make it right for me. Like, we never see, even the people that leave PBC, I never hear about these stories. So I just find that weird as well, that the Haneys have worked at this point with everybody but the advisor and promotional situation of the fighter that they've used and use his name the most, which is Gervonta Tank Davis fighting this Saturday versus Frank Martin. That don't make any sense to me. That seems like I said, if you're looking for drugs, you go to a trap house, you go to a crack house, you go to that section of the city where they got people serving blocks, you know what I mean? Or people that can whip up that work and give you that work. That makes the most sense. You want to fight Tank, he's the A side, you would likely have to fight on his terms and establish some type of relationship with his side and his people and get on that. Same thing Crawford. Soon as he left Top Rank, he did the one-off with BOK Prime. Soon as he did a fight with PBC, he got the fight that he said he wanted, undisputed, and everything's been on and cracking. You know, based on the opportunity he got with PBC and Errol Spence. That's his biggest win. That's the win that, like, yes, he was undisputed before, but beating Ndongo, not the same as beating a guy like Errol Spence Jr. Let's not kid ourselves. So for me, I find it weird that the Haneys have mentioned Tank and now they're complaining about Golden Boy, who at least somebody who's bigger than Devin Haney, like Canelo Alvarez, had put that information out there that he doesn't uck with Golden Boy, and yet you still trusted Golden Boy to get this done. And remember, Boxing Ego, I ain't got nothing wrong this year. I said, Golden Boy, they do what they do, but when have they flipped and turned a black fighter into a star? You've never seen it. You've never seen, and I'm not talking about back when they had Richard Schaefer and they were working with Al Heyman fighters. I'm saying since that moment, when have they had a black person, you know, where they signed a black fighter and flipped and turned them to a star? I remember Errol Spence, after he beat Mikey Garcia, I was at that fight. Oscar De La Hoya tweeted something like, "You should sign with Golden Boy." And Errol Spence politely declined, like, "Nah, I don't like the way you treat black people," or something. You don't know how to, he said something to that effect, right? I'll try to put it on the screen if I can remember. But same thing with Deontay Wilder. He tried to, when Wilder was winning, he tried to sign Wilder. Wilder didn't go over there to Golden Boy, but the Haneys did. And now the Haneys are complaining like, "Man, Oscar been doing this. He's doing the same thing he always does. He's playing keep away with the ball. And he's not letting us see the paperwork per our agreement." So now it becomes a different battle. We'll see how it all plays out, but this is messy. We unpacked.